What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hands Off My Hobo Rocket. And today we're going to be talking a bit about playoffs. Now, yes, the NFL playoffs are, still in full swing since it's, not even February yet. It's January, so the Super Bowl is going to be happening soon. But just because, it's the Super Bowl, no one really cares about NFL playoffs anymore because it's just one more game. So, to get that out of the picture, I'll just give my quick prediction and reasons why. It's the New England Patriots versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, if you know me, I hate the Patriots. I'm a Steelers diehard fan since I was born, and I will always be a Steelers fan. Nothing will change that from me. So, I would never like to see the Patriots win a Super Bowl. However, they've done it in my time. So, being a homer like the Philadelphia Eagles, getting my sports mixed up. I'd want the Eagles to win. However, Nick Foles needs to have a game of a lifetime. It's just he has to play absolutely amazingly if the Eagles want to have a chance. Now, the Eagles defense, they have their work cut out. They've seen, okay, the Titans couldn't do it. The Jaguars almost but couldn't do it. The Steelers, back in the regular season, almost but couldn't do it. Well, what did they do that was good, and what did they do that was bad? They learn from that. If the Eagles learn from that and get in Brady's head and probably get him on the floor just a bit, knock him down, getting him beat up just a bit, hey, he's got a chance. They got a chance. On offense, the Eagles just need to run the ball. They need to run the ball, and set up that play action. And with the speed they have as the receivers, and with the way Nick Foles is playing, I can definitely, it's not out of the picture that the Eagles will win. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's probable, but it's possible. That being said, for a fact I'm going to be cheering for the Eagles. Something as a Pittsburgher, I will rarely say I'll be cheering for a Philadelphia team. Because I hate the Flyers. I'm indifferent about the Eagles, and I'm indifferent about the Phillies. Although I wish the Phillies and Pirates were back in the same division. Don't get me wrong, MLB needs division realignment. Still, it's very rare that I'm saying I'm cheering for a Philly team, but Phillies, not Flyers, wow. The Eagles win this. Wow. That would be a season for history the Eagles would have had. Now, let's get back to actual playoffs that are coming up. We have the NBA playoffs coming up soon. We have the NHL playoffs coming up soon. And then we have the way too early MLB playoffs, which are next year. So, let's begin. Oh, not next year, at the end of this year. Let's begin with the NHL, because those are coming up sooner than the than the NBA. So, let me just quickly run you guys by the standings in the NHL. So, in first place in the East, in the Atlantic Division, we got Tampa Bay, then Boston, then Toronto. Maple Leafs in third, Canadiens fourth, Wings, Panthers, Senators, and Sabres round up the bottom. The Metro got the Caps, Flyers, Devils, top three, Blue Jackets and Pens, Islanders, Rangers, and Hurricanes. Now, I believe, if I'm right, the Blue Jackets and Pens hold the wild card spots, 2 points ahead of the Islanders and Rangers, who are outside of the playoffs. The West, you got Winnipeg, Smashville, and the St. Louis Blues, top three in the Central. The Stars, the Avalanche, the Wild, and the Blackhawks Rounding up the bottom, the Blackhawks have been playing pretty terribly. And the Pacific got the number one team in the league, I think, the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Sharks, and then the Flames, the Kings, close in fourth. Ducks tied for fourth there. Oilers, Canucks, and Coyotes round up the bottom of the Pacific. So, the playoffs, the NHL playoff right now, the playoff picture looks kind of new. Got a lot of fresh faces. So obviously in the East, New Jersey's back in the playoffs. Something we haven't seen in a good amount of time. Probably the last time we saw them, I think, was when Marty Brodeur used to play with them. Washington, obviously, number one in the Metro. Philly, trying to make their way back. They had a great first half. Second half, not so much. They're kind of slumping right now. Atlantic, Tampa Bay, who is probably the second best team, debatable first with Vegas. Boston, having that great resurgence with that wonderful first line. And then the young, fresh-faced Toronto Maple Leafs. They could make a deep run. They swing a few trades. They can make a deep run, pick up a few good vets that know how to play in the playoffs and help those young guys. I think they're in the second round, maybe even third round, possibly getting to the Stanley Cup Finals. Rare, but I think it's gonna happen. I think it could happen. In the wild card, we got Columbus and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh will probably make the playoffs this year. Everyone makes the playoffs in the NHL. Every good team makes the playoffs. On the outside looking in, got the Rangers and Islanders. They're kind of, pouting on the outside, 2 points behind. So if they go to head-to-head game with Columbus or Pittsburgh, they could just tie for that wild card spot and try to get back in this race. And going down, you got Carolina. They're kind of rebuilding. Detroit going for the rebuild. Full tanking rebuild. Montreal, they just can't figure it out. They have the skill. They have Drouin. They have Price. They have Galchenyuk. They're just not getting it done. They have Shea Weber. Like, the P.K. Subban Shea Weber trade helped Montreal so much, but they're still not doing it. And then Florida, just with Roberto Luongo being hurt, that really hurts them defensively because he's been so steady for them. And it's been hard for Florida with the injuries, with just they need more talent, honestly. Ottawa, surprisingly, they're 15-22-9. They're losing. They just got shut out by St. Louis. Only 39 points, 14 in regulation and overtime wins. It's hard. It's hard for them. I just wish they could get more talent defensively because all they have is Erik Karlsson, and he can't lift the team. Like, their plus-minus differential is -41. They're 9-10-5 at home. That's just terrible. First of all, you're 9-10-5 at home, and the NHL, home ice advantage is so crucial. You see that playing such a big factor in the playoffs. Away, they're 6-12-4. Shootouts, they're 1-5. The last 10, they're 3-6-1. They need to either go tank, or they need to kind of build. They need to get pieces. They filled out their center depth with Matt Duchene. Wonderful move for them. Or that 3-team trade with the Avs, the Predators, and the Senators, obviously. They've lost 4 straight. They need to do something new. They need some fresh faces there. And then Buffalo in the bottom, 13 regulation and overtime wins. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10, but they've won 2 straight. They just shut out Edmonton. They're rebuilding. It's you can see it clearly, bright as day. They're tanking. They're going to be a top 3 pick in the draft. If they get Rasmus Dahlin, be on the lookout for them to make a run next year. I bet you Rasmus Dahlin is going to be a game changer in the draft. And then the West. This is where things get crazy. The West, you got Winnipeg, Nashville, and St. Louis in the Central. Winnipeg has been playing absolutely bonkers. Plus minus 29 in goal differential. On a 3-game win streak. They're 7-2-1 their last 10. They're 65 points, 27 regulation and overtime wins. They're playing great. At home, they're almost unbeatable. They've only lost 4 games at home. They're 17-3-1 away. That's something they're struggling just a bit with. They're 12-10-6. I think if they work on playing away and just get more comfortable playing away from their home base, they could easily be the number 1 team. They can make a run for being the number 1 team in the Pacific. Shootouts, they're 2-1. Last 10, they're 7-2-1. They're playing great. Nashville obviously is a contender for the Cup, not even for the playoffs. So their playoff spot's almost guaranteed. They're a contender for the Stanley Cup. That's how good they are. St. Louis making a resurgence. They made the playoffs last year, but they weren't really, enticing. They didn't really turn any heads. Now they are. Now they're starting to pick things up. They're 2 points back from Smashville, and they're playing great. Now Las Vegas. They're just crazy. They're crazy good. This is just a team of misfits you have. A team of outcasts. They play with this chip on their shoulder. It's absolutely amazing how they play. They're right now on 2-game win streak. They have 68 points, 30 regulation overtime wins, plus 37 goal differential. I think that's the highest in the NHL. I think Tampa Bay plus 46 and then Boston plus 39 are the only 2 teams that have a higher plus minus on goal differential. That's still if you're up this season, if you're up being compared with Tampa and Boston, you're doing something right because they're just having phenomenal seasons. At home, they're 19-2-2. That's great. At T-Mobile Arena, a new arena, having that new fan base in Vegas. That's great. Away from home, they're 13-9-2. That's still pretty good. Shootouts, they're 2-2. Last 10, 6-2-2. They faltered just a bit, but with Marc-Andre Fleury, who's always be a lifelong Penguins goalie, now moved on with the expansion draft. With him in net, they're fine. As a Pens fan who's seen Fleury get drafted until he left, I will tell you this. When Fleury's on, he is the best goaltender in the league. Hands down. He's so athletic. He's so technically sound. Some would say he's too athletic. That's a problem literally like 1 or 2 other goalies ever have had, being too athletic. That's a great problem to have because that just means you're overreacting just a bit. We've seen that in a few games. And the Blue Jackets game, his third goal, he slid to make the save. He slid a bit too much over. He was doing a bit too much. He simplifies his game. He's the greatest. San Jose and then Calgary. I love talking about Calgary because they got so many young faces. They got Johnny Gaudreau, they got Chucky, they got Monahan, they got Giordano, then they got Mike Smith, the 41-year-old, I think, in the cage. That was a great trade for them, getting Mike Smith from the Coyotes and getting rid of Brian Elliott. Elliott he needed a new place. He left St. Louis because he didn't like being the number 1.5 goalie. He went to Calgary. It didn't work there. He's I think in Philadelphia, and he's trying to maintain his starter role. But Calgary with Mike Smith is great. They're 12-11-2 in the Scotiabank Saddledome at home. That needs to change. If you've lost 10 or more games at your home rink, you're doing something wrong. They're 13-5-4 away. They've won more games away than they've won at home. It's pretty crazy, but that's really good. Shootouts, they're 2-4. Last 10, they're 7-1-2. With I think 2 overtime losses in the previous 2 games. They're playing great. Dallas is streaking Colorado. Colorado just came off a 10-game win streak. So in their last 10, they're 9-1. They just lost Montreal 4-2. It's an okay loss. But they have a very good chance of making the playoffs. But they have Minnesota and the ever-dangerous Los Angeles Kings coming up behind them. Minnesota tied with them in points, but the Avalanche win the tiebreaker. And the LA Kings 2 points behind them. But let's talk about the bottom, actually, of the Pacific. Edmonton. Edmonton is supposed to be a playoff team this year. They got Connor McDavid playing great. You got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You got Milan Lucic, Patrick Maroon. I think it's Adam Larson, Cam Talbot. All these guys playing phenomenally, but it's just not translating. It's just not translating into points and wins for them. They need to do something. Defensively, we know they're weak. And everyone knows that, Connor McDavid isn't the one-man team. Even though he's young, even though he's got the speed, he's got the skill. In hockey, there is no one-man team. There is always a player, a star, a sub-star, and a supporting cast. Some teams got two stars in a supporting cast. Some teams have 3 stars in a supporting cast. But there always is a supporting cast. Edmonton doesn't have it. And the supporting cast is always that third, fourth line, that bottom 6. Edmonton does not have it. Vancouver is filled with them. Arizona is a bunch of young guys, just waiting to feast on the NHL. Clayton Keller, Brandon Perlini, Max Domi. These guys are so young, have so much speed, have so much skill. It's just raw talent. Like any hockey coach that has this raw talent would be shaking because they're so happy. Rick Tocchet is great with young players. What he did with the Penguins when they went on their when they're on their Stanley Cup run twice, amazing. Now he's with the Coyotes. He's probably the happiest head coach alive because he has a problem of having a bit too much skill that's too raw. They just got to mold their players, and they have a very competitive team. And if they can keep all those guys, they have some most probably elite players. Easy, a lot of players that can play top 6, top line role. But they have that elite presence. And plus, defense, they have a few really good young guys, OEL. And then they have some middle-aged guys, Demers. And they got Chychrun also. Chychrun's supposed to be a franchise player, and he's playing like it already. He is not afraid to be scrappy, but he's always got that offensive touch. And I really think, Arizona can make a run in a few years. Let them develop for 2 more years. They're golden. They're golden. But that's the NHL. I just want to touch back on the East for a second. There are a few teams, I think, that are doing it wrong in their rebuilding standpoint. That's Montreal. And it comes down to Andrew Shaw. Andrew Shaw was a terrible deal for them. They need to either buy him out or just stash him in the minors because Andrew Shaw's not working out for them. That being said, now let's talk a bit of scoring and points and see how the NHL how it's stacked, because the NHL is, unlike the NBA, is not polarized. You don't have one conference that's too good, like the West and the NBA being extremely good, or the AL and the MLB being extremely good. No, it's even. Both conferences, West and East, are even. That's why you need a good salary system, salary cap. Cough, cough, MLB, fix it. Either way, with goals. You got Washington, Vegas, Tampa Bay, New York, Philly, New York as the top 5 goal scorers, with Ovi, Carlson, Kucherov, Lee, Couturier, and Tavares. That's a good, healthy mix. Only 2 players on the same team with Anders Lee and Tavares. Assists sprinkled everywhere. Points sprinkled everywhere. Goals created sprinkled everywhere. Even strength goals sprinkled everywhere. Power play goals sprinkled everywhere. Shots sprinkled everywhere. The NHL is balanced. That's wonderful. As a sports fan, that's wonderful because I can throw on an NHL game and I could see a good competitive matchup. In the NBA, if I watch a game with the Bulls playing, I know the other team is most probably going to win. If I put on a game with the Warriors playing, I know the Warriors are most probably going to win. In the NHL, There is nothing certain like that, and that's absolutely amazing as a sports fan. But now, let us move to the NBA. Speaking of the NBA, today, the Utah Jazz just beat the Detroit Pistons in overtime by 3. The 76ers beat the Bulls 115-101. Now, yes, the Sixers, they beat the Bulls. Yeah, but what's more important is that Ben Simmons is becoming that franchise player that they need. A triple-double in early third quarter. That's insane. Personally speaking, that's awesome. I'd love to see him play live. That is his size and his skill do not match for the player for the position he's playing. That's great because it creates so many mismatches. Now, if you just learn to shoot the ball and learn to use that to his advantage, he's going to be one heck of a player. He's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited to see that. Rockets won. Spurs won. And standing-wise, like playoff-wise, there's I don't think there's going to be much movement for playoffs. In the East, Boston, Toronto, Cleveland, Miami, Washington, Indiana, Philly, and Milwaukee are in. Detroit, New York, Charlotte, Chicago, Brooklyn, Atlanta, Orlando are out. It doesn't seem likely that a sub-500 team will make the playoffs. The playoffs will be filled with above 500 teams, and I think that there's going to be a bit of shuffling, especially at the bottom 3 or bottom 4. I think the top 3 are just going to the playoffs will be Boston, Toronto, Cleveland. Miami, Washington are going to be duking it out for that 4 or 5 seed. And then for the 6, 7, 8 seeds between Indiana, Philly, and Milwaukee, I can see Detroit sneaking in and taking one of those, and I can see Philly moving as high as the 6 seed. They can't get the 5 seed, I don't think. I see Indiana probably locking up that 6 seed pretty quickly, just because Victor Oladipo is absolutely just crazy good now. He's become the player he should be and more. And I'm pretty sure he learned how his play style, his ferocity in the way he plays from Russell Westbrook, playing with him last year. It's just great to see him as a young guy develop. I'm pretty sure the Sixers will get that 7 seed, and Milwaukee will be fighting with Detroit for that 8 seed. I really want, I want Andre Drummond to not be on the Pistons just so that he gets in the playoffs. I want him to go to Cleveland in that trade because I want Milwaukee in. I think Giannis has played well enough to get into the playoffs, to build his team in the playoffs, but it's hard to make that decision between Milwaukee and Detroit. It's really hard. Now, yes, Detroit has dropped 6 straight, but, Milwaukee's 4-6 in their past 10. They've won only 1 straight now. It's a toss-up between those two. Flip a coin. That's probably who gets in. And that's the East. The West. The West just has a problem with talent. There's too many good guys. So Warriors, Houston, San Antonio, Minnesota, OKC, New Orleans, Portland, Denver. Those guys are in. And right now, who are outside? LA, Utah, the Lakers, Memphis, Phoenix, Dallas, and good old Sacramento. George Hill, he's got to go from Sacramento. He needs to do something. He's not supposed to be there. You get traded somewhere up in the West, or get traded to Cleveland. Just go, get out of Sacramento. You don't want to be there. They're tanking. They're trusting the process, but the Sacramento way, which is worse. So George Hill, he's got to go. The Dallas is also just tanking. Phoenix is getting better. Getting better. 3-7 in their last 10. But they really need to get more talent. Yes, they're drafting well, but their draftees, they need, I guess, to try trading for more draft picks. It's rough to do that because you got to give up some players. but they need the young talent. Memphis, just take that for data, Memphis. Your data's not helping you anymore. Just you guys, they need to get rid of all the good players. Just embrace that they suck. That's what they need to do. The Lakers, I don't even want to talk about them because they just make me upset because of LeVar Ball. Utah, no hablo inglés because Joe Ingles is their scorer. That's all they have. Yes, they have Rudy Gobert to defend the net, but that's not really helping them much. They really need more. They should just trade Gobert, get some draft picks, and they should just blow it up, what I'm saying. Clippers, I don't think you're going to make the playoffs. Yeah, you're making a strong push, but you're not doing it. Just no. Well, it's just not going to happen. Denver, you're looking like it. Portland, you should be higher than New Orleans. New Orleans is playing great. OKC, yeah, I could see that as the 5 seed. Minnesota should be lower. Portland should be the 4th seed. In my opinion, Minnesota should be the 6th seed. New Orleans should be the 7th seed. I think that's how it goes down. San Antonio, going to be the 3 seed. I think they're going to lock that up real quick. And just talking about San Antonio, yes, I'm a Spurs fan. Yes, I do believe that Kawhi Leonard is possibly the best defensive player in the league. And yes, I do believe LeBron James should sign with the Spurs just because he gets a chance to play under Coach Popovich for a long amount of time than just on Team USA. 2, he gets to play with a all-star defensive caliber team and play with Kawhi Leonard. 3, apparently he's really close with DeJounte Murray. He can help DeJounte grow. Speaking of DeJounte Murray, he's now the starter above Tony Parker. Tony Parker was hands down accepting of. He said, it's time for me to come off the bench because new guys, he's hinting towards DeJounte, need to start learning and playing more. I think DeJounte's last line was 9 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. No, 9 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists with 7 steals and a block, I think. Don't quote me on that. But DeJounte Murray is growing. He's got his confidence back. He's got that swagger back. I think starting off on the bench, that kind of hurt his development. He needs to start. He needs to play. And Coach Popovich, has said before, what do you see out of DeJounte? What can DeJounte Murray get better at? And Popovich said he's a 20-year-old or 22-year-old kid. He's got to get better at everything. He's just got to play. It's just, it's the mantra for when you have young prospects. You just got to let them play. You just have to play. You just have to give them the opportunity to learn from the game by playing it live. Now back to the playoffs. Now you have Houston and Golden State. This is the conundrum. Houston is 3 games back and winners of 4 straight. Golden State, winners of 8 of their last 10. I don't want to really decide on who's the number 1 seed because they're both playing like number 1 seed teams. Now, Harden was hurt. CP3 is kind of hurt. But other than that, Houston is playing a style of basketball which is revolutionary. They took Golden State's, long balls, the golden ball, and just turned that up. Just made that explode. They took scoring to a whole new level. Golden State has kind of balanced themselves out with the emergence of, Draymond Green being the defender he is, his aggressive defense style, and Kevin Durant being that great two-way player. If I were to compare him to an NHL player, Kevin Durant is the Anze Kopitar of the NBA. Anze Kopitar is an amazing two-way player. He's a Selke winner. He's a great scorer. That is what Kevin Durant is. Kevin Durant is a very good defensive player for how much offense he puts in. That's extremely important. So it's just the fight between Golden State and Houston and reaching that number 1 spot and locking it up. I think that's the biggest thing in the NBA. You got to lock up that spot early on in the season and really, really tell other teams, oh, You're coming for my sixth spot? No. Whenever we play you, we're gonna get physical, and we're gonna be the bullies here, and we're gonna take you guys to town. That's what's important in the NBA. You need to lock up that spot. And just, I think if we go on further on in the playoffs, there's some teams that have better chances than others of making the finals. Obviously, the Warriors have probably the best chance of making the finals, and I do think that coming out of the East, it's not the Celtics, it's not the Cavaliers that have the best chance, it's the Raptors. It's the Raptors that have the best chance to make the finals. Out of the West, I think it's the Rockets in second for making the finals, and it's a toss-up between the Thunder and the Spurs. The Timberwolves, I don't think I don't think they'll make the finals. If they do, it's by like fluke wins, late game wins, aka Jimmy Butler being Jimmy Clutch. And statistically in the NBA, there is very big disparity on scoring, on minutes played between East and West. West, you have enough talent that you can rest your superstars. In the East, you don't have that talent to where you can rest superstars that much. So I do think the NBA has a parity problem, where the West is just too good. The West is just way too good. That's the NBA right there. And now let's go to the way too early MLB playoff pictures. So, in news, Curtis Granderson signed with Toronto. Brian Dwensing re-signed by the Cubs. Austin Jackson now in San Francisco. Let's see. Who else? Adrian Gonzalez went to the Mets. Howie Kendrick re-signed and stayed. Jay Bruce went to the Mets. And I think we're caught up there. And so there are a few big trades earlier on in the postseason or off season in the MLB that really change up that playoff picture. And it starts with Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo Stanton going to the Yankees make them a very, very dangerous threat. First of all. Next. I believe who else is traded? Michael Pineda signed with the Twins. Who else from Miami was traded? Another outfielder. I'm blanking, but he was traded to the Cardinals, St. Louis. That is another big move, because it makes St. Louis another big threat. I don't like that, not one bit. As a Pirates fan, that's scary. St. Louis, Chicago, being threats, it just seems a bit unfair with me. Then, obviously Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The Angels, with picking up Shohei Ohtani, that's absolutely bonkers because they got Ohtani and Mike Trout. If they get some pitching, yeah, they're golden. But making the playoffs, it's going to be a doozy. Because it's going to be a doozy because I think the Astros have locked up that they're going to be either the number one or number two. The Red Sox, I think, are going to drop down to being like a wild card team. I think the Yankees are going to win the division. Cleveland is going to be Cleveland and just make the playoffs, be one of the three teams that that don't have to be a non-wild card team, be a division winner. And then I believe in the NL, The Natty Lights, the Washington Nationals, are going to win their division again. St. Louis will make the playoffs this year, and they will overtake the Cubs and start and regain their dynasty in the NL Central. The Dodgers will be the number one team in the NL, but not in the league. The Astros will take that over. Wild card, I think the Cubs will be a wild card team, and I think it's between the Brewers and I think the D-backs for me. I want to say the Brewers just because I think they have a good chance of just pulling moves during the season and really making a late postseason rush. You know, they're a small market team, so it's obviously significantly harder to make a postseason rush than it is for the D-backs. I think they're going to do it. I'm crossing my fingers for the Brewers. That would be 3 NL Central teams in. All the other teams, there are a bunch of teams that are just middle of the pack, and there are a bunch of teams that need a tank in the MLB. I'll touch on that later on, but those are my predictions for the playoffs. If you want to refute my argument or kind of let me know if anything else that might change my beliefs, please tweet at me _SVish. I'm always down to discuss things on Twitter. But yeah, coming up, we'll be talking more free agency stuff in the MLB. I'll be discussing the salary cap system. And then also, we'll go a bit more in depth in the San Antonio Spurs and also the 76ers. And we'll talk about a bit on loyalty and where loyalty is gone in the sporting world. It used to be there before, now not so much. So thank you all for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Stay positive. I'll see you on the flip side.